In a small, dusty town called Maruva, there lived a woman named Aisha. She wasn't famous. She wasn't rich. She wasn't born with any special talent. But what made Aisha stand out, what made her story worth telling, was something simple. She never stopped showing up. Aisha grew up in a broken home. Her father left when she was just 10, and her mother struggled to raise 3 children alone. Life taught her early that no one was coming to save her. But deep inside, Aisha held on to a dream. She wanted to become a fashion designer, someone whose creations would one day be worn by people all around the world. At 17, she started sketching designs in her old-school notebook. She didn't have fancy tools, just a blunt pencil, an eraser, and her boundless imagination. Every single night, while the rest of the town slept, she drew dresses, shoes, and accessories, losing herself in a world she was determined to create. Her friends laughed at her. "Who do you think you are, Aisha?" they'd mock. "This is Maruva, not Milan." But Aisha would just smile and say, "I may not be there yet, but I'm on my way." She held on to her belief, even when no one else shared it. After finishing school, Aisha took a job at a local tailor shop. The pay was little, barely enough to survive on. But for Aisha, it was an education. She used every single opportunity to learn. She watched intently how the old tailor measured fabrics, how he meticulously cut patterns, and how his experienced hands guided the needle. When she made mistakes, and she made plenty, the tailor would scold her. "You'll never get it right if you keep being this slow," he'd yell in frustration. Many would have quit, but Aisha was different. She never gave up. She stayed after hours, long after everyone else had gone home, just to practice. She'd restitch her errors, her fingers sore, her eyes tired. She firmly believed that consistency would eventually pay off, even when her progress seemed invisible to everyone, including herself. For years, Aisha saved every tiny bit of her earnings she could. 200 naira here, 500 there. It was a slow, painstaking process. Finally, she had enough to buy her own small sewing machine. She set it up in a corner of her mother's living room, and that small space became her very first studio, her sanctuary. When she finally gathered the courage to show her designs to a fashion house in the city, she was met with a cold, swift rejection. The manager barely glanced at her sketches before dismissing them. "These designs are too simple," he said, waving a hand. "You don't have what it takes for this industry." That night, Aisha cried. The weight of his words felt crushing. She thought about quitting. What was the point of trying so hard when the world didn't seem to care at all? But then, in her moment of despair, she remembered her mother's words. "Aisha, success is like planting a seed. You don't see the tree the next day, but if you keep watering it daily, one morning, you'll wake up and find shade where once there was only dust." So, Aisha decided to keep watering her seed. She kept watering her dream. She went back to her sewing machine. She continued designing. She continued learning. She continued showing up, day after day. Years passed. Aisha was now in her late 20s. Her friends had moved on with their lives. Some were married, some had better jobs in the city. But she was still there, in that small room, sewing clothes for her neighbors, her dreams still burning quietly within her. Then one day, a young lady rushed into her small shop. She was desperate. She needed a dress for her graduation party, and she needed it in just 24 hours. Every other tailor in town had turned her down, saying it was impossible. Aisha just smiled and said, "I'll do it." She worked all night, her fingers flying, the hum of her sewing machine the only sound in the quiet house. She poured years of practice and passion into that single dress. When the lady returned the next morning and saw the finished garment, she burst into tears. It was perfect, more beautiful than she could have imagined. Overjoyed, she posted a picture of the dress online, tagging Aisha's small, obscure page. And that one post, that single act of gratitude, changed everything. By evening, Aisha's inbox was flooded with orders. People started calling her the miracle tailor. Her designs, once called too simple, began to spread like wildfire. First, across her town, then across the entire country. Years later, Aisha received an invitation she had only dreamed of to showcase her collection at an international fashion event. As she stood on that grand stage, watching models walk the runway in designs that once existed only in her imagination and her worn-out notebook, tears of gratitude streamed down her face. She whispered to herself, I didn't get here because I was lucky. I got here because I stayed when it was hard. I kept going when no one was watching. The same people who once mocked her now gave her a standing ovation. The same city that once ignored her name now celebrated her brand. But through it all, Aisha never forgot her roots. She went back to Maruva and opened a fashion training center for young girls, teaching them not just how to sew, but how to believe in the power of their own dreams. Aisha's story teaches us so much. It shows us that consistency beats talent. Talent might open the first door, but it's consistency that keeps you in the room. Her journey proves that progress is often slow, but steady. Daily steps are what create miracles. Remember, every no you face might just be a redirection, guiding you toward a much better yes. Faith without effort is just daydreaming. You can pray for success all you want, but you also have to show up and do the work. And most importantly, never forget where you started. When you rise, make sure you reach back and lift others. True success isn't measured in fame or fortune, it's measured in impact. Aisha's story isn't just about fashion. It's about faith, resilience, and the quiet, unstoppable power of showing up every single day, especially when no one is watching. Success doesn't happen overnight. It's built day by day, in all those small moments when you choose not to give up. So, whatever your dream is, whatever seed you are watering, just keep showing up. The world might not notice you yet, but I promise you, one day, it will have no choice but to. Thank you for listening. If this story inspired you, please like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. We'll see you in the next video.